Hey babes, and welcome back to the pajama party. Chum chum chum, pajama party. Chum chum chum, pajama party. Pajama party. Welcome back, guys, to the podcast. Welcome back to the Real Bible Stories. Please bow your heads. Lord, thank you for another opportunity to come and share your word with your children. Lord, you know it has been stress-induced to do this. And mostly because I just feel frustrated sometimes and wonder why it is you got me doing this. Well, like I know we talked about and discussed, but like I don't have signs and wonders all the time. So my mind be the flesh, Lord. But anyways, thank you for leading me back here, Father. And I ask you to give me strength, that you would place a fresh anointing on me, Father, that you would speak through me to your children and get them what you want them to have, Father. And I ask that you would give me courage and strength. I ask that you would bless those who are listening in, bless their nights, bless their days, bless the food they eat, bless the destinations they travel, bless everything their hands touch, everywhere their feet land, Lord. Bless their minds, bless their hearts, their finances. Just let blessings fall upon them, Lord. Let peace surround them, Father. Fill them with unspeakable love. Let your presence be known to your babies. And Father, I love you. We love you. And it is in Jesus' name we do ask and pray. Thank God, amen. All right, so hello, gang, and welcome back to another episode. So I actually started this one out early. I was like, what am I going to talk about, next week? And it was like, the Lord was like, boom, here you go. And true enough, I had some struggles to deal with this past week. So I do feel confident in this message, so to speak, because I really think I can help somebody. And I mean, even sometimes my best friend, she will message me and she will say, like, I really needed to hear what you said. And I know it is not me per se, but the Lord using me. So use me, Jesus. But first of all, let me just say, I hope that you've had the best of weeks. I hope last weekend, like Sunday on up, was just amazing. I hope you've been well. Please remember to eat, okay? To sleep. Naps are important and great, okay? Y'all, I'm really nervous about what I am going to talk about today. But our subject for today is I am worthy. Now, listen. Okay, I am worthy. That is something that I feel like I have to work on believing about myself. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we're going to be talking about Moses today. And Moses, I have a soft spot for him because, like he did not feel qualified to do the job that God called him to do. Like David, he was like, I am your God. But Moses was like, wait a minute, Jesus, let's hash this out. Like, let's really talk about this, and rightfully so. So we're going to be in the book of Exodus. And y'all, I was telling my mama, I was thinking when Moses was out here doing stuff, he was a whole like 25, 30. Moses was out here leading these people when he was like 80. So, you know what? With that being said, we just gonna mosey on. we're going to start actually. Okay, so well, let's start at the beginning. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a brief about like what is going on and who this Moses character is. So Moses is, okay, let me see. So I'm trying to see where his name is. Okay, so they don't say. All right, so Joseph had ended up in Egypt because his brothers had sold him. We're in that era. We're in the now. So the children of Israel, they are slaves now. And God wants his people to be free from Pharaoh. And so Moses, when he was born, the king, the new Pharaoh, sent out a decree to basically have like all the male babies eradicated. He was like, get them out of here. We don't want them. Like, just get them out of here. And so the midwives were killing babies. I think like the soldiers were killing babies. And so Moses is saved. Yes. So we're going to read Exodus chapter 2 verses, well, we're going to read chapter 2, okay, 1 through 4. And there went a man of this house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a godly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. So basically the mom put it, okay, so honestly for this story, I would say right now you guys need to go watch The Prince of Egypt. I believe it's an animated movie. It is really, really good. It has a score in there, and he's like, let my people go. I mean, like, Pharaoh is singing to Moses, and Moses is singing, and all the plagues is coming. Y'all, it is such a good song. Like, I might just have to go play it again after this. But it's also kind of frightening because I'm like, God was not playing no games. But anyways, so Moses, back to the story. Moses is put into this basket. That's what I'm going to equate it to because that's what the movie version is. And he's floated down the river, the Nile River. And let me see. Okay, it does not say. But it is the river, okay? And he's floating down the river, and he ends up at this other pharaoh's, the daughter of a pharaoh. He ends up in front of her. And so so the sister wanted to take care of the daughter. And if I'm not mistaken, so basically, and I'm thinking about the children version, but Moses grows up as a pharaoh, right? He's adopted. So he's never really known, like he knew he was different, like he knew that, but he was adopted. And in the movie, the way they portray him is kind of like he didn't know at first. And once he realizes who he is, that's when he wants to help. But anyways, I'm gonna say he knew he was adopted, okay? But so the first thing I wanted to talk about is what Moses did. So Moses grew up, right? There's not really much going on about him, he's just living life. Well, one day he comes outside and he basically encounters this Egyptian being killed by a Pharisee, a Hebrew. No, yeah, an Egyptian was killing his brethren. Okay, hold on, guys. Let me. The Hebrews were getting killed by the Egyptians. I wanted to fact check. So I'm actually going to, because the Hebrews were like the slaves to the Pharisees. Okay, so we're going to read chapter 2, verses 11 through 27, I believe. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killed that Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. So now Pharaoh finds out what Moses did. And so Pharaoh's like, I'm gonna kill him. And, Moses is like, no. And he runs away. And let me just say, like, though that it is just kind of ironic to think even back then, like, it's that same example of if you point your finger, like, other people are going to point or going to show you the other fingers. If you point one finger, there is 4 pointing back at you. There we go. And yeah, Moses, he offed the guy, and didn't hit him because he thought he was in the clear. And now he's trying to tell other people how to live their life. And they're like, wait a minute, Buck, because I didn't even kill him. So Moses had ran, guys, okay? And he ends up going to dwell with a man named Reuel and his family. He stayed with them. He had 7 daughters. And he ended up marrying this lady named Zipporah. And after this is when he encounters God next. So we're going to jump over to Exodus chapter 3. Yes, verses 1. Okay, so it's here. In my face, Lord. Okay, so we're starting at chapter 3, verse 1. It says, now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, while the bush is not burnt. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here am I. And he said, draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon the Lord. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and had heard their cry by reason of their taskmakers. For I know their sorrows, and I come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of the land unto a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, and to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now, therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is coming to me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. So, I wanted to stop here and make some mental notes. One thing that just stood out to me that I've never noticed upon reading Exodus, so apparently I'm gonna have to double back again to this story. But when God lit the bush on fire, it wasn't until Moses actually engaged with the bush and was like, God did not speak. He showed himself, and then when Moses spoke, God was like, all right, you're paying attention, you're tuned in, let's go. And I just kind of find that incredible that God waited for Moses to be like, what is this? For him to be like, oh, I got your attention. Hello, hi. And to be a witness of a bush that is burning, but not burnt, like on fire, but not burning. Man, I sometimes when it's cold here and I have to light firewoods, I'll be like, Lord, speak to me in the vlogs. But I think the Lord knows if he did do that, I'd probably be like, I don't even know what it was. I think I'd be a little scared, y'all. I'll be asking the Lord for stuff and then I'll be like, don't do it, because I don't need it. But okay, so Moses is at this bush and the Lord is speaking to him, and Moses is afraid because, this is God Almighty, and the Lord is telling him, like, take your shoes off. This is holy ground. Like, I got an assignment for you. And I was reading this devotional on my Bible app by T.D. Jakes, so I'm going to stencil this in here. And he was talking about how I just assumed that, Moses' shoes were dirty. That's why God was like, take your sandals off. Don't be tracking dirt from the bottom of your shoes on the on the sand. That's just where my mind was, okay? But apparently, when Moses had to take off his shoes, it was a sign of vulnerability, because he was gonna feel the heat from the fire, from the sand. Like, he had to be vulnerable in order to, go forth with what God wanted. And that is just admirable that, Moses withstood all that heat. And I'm a pyromaniac. Like, I like fire. So, I am in all over again. Okay, so basically we're going for it. And Moses is like, Lord, what is it that you think I'm supposed to tell Pharaoh? Like, what if he don't listen to me? Like, what am I even supposed to say? Who do I tell him send me? And Jesus is like, God is like, I am me. You tell him I am. I'm the King of Kings. Like, he just goes into the chief status. I am head honcho. We love it. And so he also tells him, like, you're gonna be over Israel. And Moses is like, you're kidding me. And so let me see. So the Lord is showing Moses signs, right? He shows him, he's like, how am I supposed to, like, convince Pharaoh that, like, this is real? So the Lord is like, take this rod, turn it into a snake, Moses. Take it back up. It's a rod again. Moses is like, this is not happening. And so then the Lord is like, take your hand. Put it in the bosom. This is all happening in chapter 4, by the way. So Moses takes his hand, sticks it in his bosom, pulls it out. He has a leprous hand. Then God instructs him to put his hand back into the bosom, and his hand is clean. And I'm just telling you, after the first time would have probably been enough for me to be like, okay. But after the second time, okay, well, correct me then, Lord. I was about to say, I don't think I would have questioned it anymore, but we're going to get back there. So I want to go to another point of Moses felt inadequate. After all these signs and wonders being performed in front of him, Moses is like, you got the wrong guy. Like, I cannot do what it is that you think that I can do. Like, Moses is trying to tell God about himself as if God didn't create him. And you know how we have like a tendency to do that? Like, God, there is no way I can do that. Like, do you know who I am? And I'm pretty sure the Lord is like, do you know who you are though? Like, of course I know who you are. That's why I'm asking you to do this. So do you know who you are? You gotta ask the right questions, friends. So Moses is feeling inadequate. Like, he's insecure. He doesn't think like he got this. He's just like, I don't want no part of this, especially with his history. He's like, Lord. Okay, so we're gonna read it. So, chapter 4, verses 10. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. And the Lord said unto him, Who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have I not the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. And he said, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send. Now now the Lord is angry at Moses because Jesus ain't came on the scene yet. That's why I keep correcting it. The Lord, the Father of all, he is like, he mad at Moses. And who can y'all imagine? I am glad like that we have a father that does not get mad at us or judge us. Like, I used to think like I would have wanted to be alive in the Bible days, but if the Lord would have been mad at me and like retaliated, I would have been like, Father, please forgive me. But so the Lord is mad at Moses because Moses is sitting here. He is supposed to be this believer of God. Like, God is the God of all of his forefathers. And Moses is just not comprehending. Like, the Lord has shown him things. He talking to him in a burning bush. And Moses is still sitting here like, 2 + 2 is 18, Lord. So now the Lord is like, since you don't want to get it together and listen to me, we're going to let Aaron do this instead. And so now that I think about it, I feel like, dang, that's a little rough, because like, think of what could have happened for Moses if he would have trusted God and believed the Lord when the Lord said like, you're qualified, you can do this, like, I made your mouth, like, I just turned this rod into a snake for you, and you're gonna sit here and question me like, I just diseased and undiseased you in 2.5 seconds or 0.25 seconds, and you're gonna sit there like you don't see me, Moses? And though I poke fun at Moses, how many of us know that we are just like that? The Lord can send me a sign, and I'm still sitting there like, another sign? Oh, another sign? Oh man, we're just with the signs today, aren't we? Y'all, I know what it is like to be Moses. And so I wanted to stop there. Like, I don't really want to talk about, I'll wrap it up with but we're going to stop there and focus on those 3 points. The first thing I wanted to talk about was like, okay, so I just got this part off the top of my head, so, it may be a little emotional, but, as a Black woman in America, I think, in a sense, I can relate to the adoption part per se, because America, it is my home, sure, but it is not where, like, my origins come from, like, my forefathers were taken off of their land and brought here. So in a way, it's like, yes, America is my home, but unlike most people, I can't ever say like, oh, like, we've been here for so many years. Like, our history, what we're taught about us, what we're taught about like slavery and hate crimes and just everything's around being black, oftentimes it is replaced, it is stereotyped. You know, even when they talked about getting us off of Egypt and bringing us to America, they wanted to make it seem like we were just these dumb, idiotic creatures who didn't even know, forget 2 plus 2, but 0 plus 1. Like, they wanted to make it seem like they really just took these dumb black people off this land because they wanted to work them. Like, now, even that doesn't make sense, because if you, why would you willingly take somebody who is less than able and force their whole family plus more the community to pick? Anyways, I feel adopted in that sense, you know, like we can only look back so many generations and see who our ancestors are, because a lot of times there's not documentation about us, or you know, we were bought by settlers, and it's just really disheartening to think about stuff like that, because on one hand it makes me a little angry, but I have to realize, like, this is for a reason. And even if I don't understand it, I know that the Lord will purpose it for my good in the end. And so, I mean, in a way too, you know, I related to the cartoon version of this movie, how they depicted it, because Moses was almost kind of like oblivious. He had his head in the air, like, you know, as long as life was good for him, then it was okay. And at one point I was like that too, you know. I had very minimal, you know, racist experiences as a kid. But as I got older, and, you know, even like stuff that slid, like the principal, I don't know if you remember the principal story, but, you know, the principal who told me to go back to where I came from, or being called a nigger, stuff like that. I mean, it was like one off and then done. But now that I am like a grown woman and I know things and I have to go out and experience the world, it is like reality hits me that yes, you are indeed black, okay? Like, you are still a black person. And it's like, I feel in general, that's where I'm trying to get to. In general, black people, we keep trying to move on. Like, we keep trying to fit in and not see skin color. But when these racist attacks happen, when all these lives are slaughtered and killed, you know, like when the discrimination starts back up, when another unarmed black kid is shot for no reason, it drops us back down to size like, damn, I'm not an Egyptian, I'm a Hebrew. Anywho's, so Moses is one day trying to, you know, like break up this fight. And he is just trying to be the bigger person and help resolve something. I've also been that person before, you know, and they're like, but you told me not to. And it's like, pick and choose your battles, friends. So I can agree, or like I say, I feel like I know what he could have been feeling as far as being adopted, you know, like metaphorically, situationally, I know it is a completely different thing, but metaphorically, I feel like I can relate to that just in my own way. Okay, so the second part was he encounters the burning bush. Now, y'all, let me tell you, the first time I encountered God, I mean, I'm pretty sure, you know, well, let me put it like this, because the first time I encountered God, I was watching this Christian show, and like, I remember worshiping and stuff, but like the first time I ever remember being reconnected to him, I was on a treadmill. I was, you know, running, trying to get fit and in shape for school. And if I'm not mistaken, I was in junior high, and I heard my name, Victavia, clear as day. But it was like a whisper clear, you know, like Victavia. And y'all, it was so loud. It was so loud. It flooded my senses. It completely jolted me. Like, I almost tripped on a treadmill. I had to stop that thing. Glory be to God that he kept me safe. But, you know, I stopped and I looked around, and my heart was beating so fast. And I was so shaken up. And when I told my mom, she was like, that's the Holy Spirit. Like, he called you. And sure enough, after that, I was like, I think I said junior high. Well, yeah, because I was probably about 13. And after that, I think I got baptized at 14, if I'm remembering correctly. And that was like my 8th grade year. So, yeah, junior high. So, anywho, when the Lord called me, you know, I was prophesied to. And I remember one question that the preacher asked me was like, do you want to make music for the Lord? And I was like, yeah. You know, it was something I really didn't want when I was younger. I wanted to be hot. But then when I got older and grew a relationship with God, I was like, yes, this is something I would want to pursue. You know, being there for his children, creating worship music, you know, making my own worship music to worship and honor him are desires of my heart. And you know, so I was prophesied to about everything that was supposed to happen in my life. I'm pretty sure I told this story. And then I fell away. You know, I went and did something that to me, it was not killing an Egyptian, but it was just as hypocritical because I went and ended up with the girl despite, you know, being like, I don't even understand how you can end up with the girl and the line. Yeah, I was that person. And it was even worse because it was an online relationship. And so, like, she hid behind a boy avatar, but I knew she was a girl. It was a thing. I talk about it on the channel a lot because it was a rough time in my life. But so, you know, I kind of fell away from God then, and it was like I was kind of living a double life because I would go to church, but I also knew what I was doing. And it made it even worse because this girl was an atheist and she mocked my religion a lot of times. And, you know, I just put up with a lot of things. And I remember judging other people, and here I am. You know, I'm in the same boat with them. And so, well, judging them in the spec, y'all, I get like this, but I feel like I really have to elaborate what I mean. Not judging them because they're with a girl. I mean, well, that's part of it too, because, you know, I'm raised in a household where that is not okay. Like, it's taught in the Bible that, you know, a marriage is between a man and a woman, which I wholeheartedly agree. But I think I was more or less judging them because I was always like, I don't think a girl would ever do that for me, you know. But it was a girl who split me off my feet, and I hate saying that because it wasn't even her. It was more like lust of the eyes, you know, because she was doing things that I wanted. It's the thing. I'm not going back into that story tonight. We're cruising on. So after that dark period of my lifetime, that is when I feel like the Lord called me again. You know, I thought I was going to be in Korea. I thought by now I'd be partying it up, you know. I'd be, like my mama said, kissing somebody under the cherry blossom tree, you know, like I'd just be having a good old great time. I'd be adulting in my own place. And no, I am not anywhere where I thought I would be, which is fine. You know, I love doing this because I feel like I am doing what he told me to do. But the point I'm trying to make there is, when I started this was like, I don't think I can do this. You know, there are still some days where I get up here and I'm like, Lord, I don't know if I can do this. Why am I doing this? Tonight kind of feels like one of those nights. I'm not going to even lie to you. I'm sitting here like, I don't even know if this makes sense. I don't really feel like I am motivated to do it, but I know my obedience is better than my feelings. And I do believe that God told me to do this. So I want to be obedient, and hopefully I can help somebody. But, you know, I sometimes feel so hung up on like all the things I did in my past. And though I'm not one to shy away, like I just feel like if those things were ever brought up, you know, and like I ever get up there and people do like listen to what I have to say, my biggest fear is that people from my past are gonna come and be like, well, she used to do this and that. And I don't even understand why I still care so much about what people say and think. It is something I'm still working to get over, but that bothers me. You know, I don't want nobody trying to drag my past up and make me seem like a person I'm not. But for one, it's my past. And two, though, like I did all these things and I'm just sitting here like, okay, I remember what I did. And like, I don't know if maybe haven't truly forgiven myself, or more or less it's like, though I'm okay with the choices I've made, sometimes those negative thoughts are like, yeah, but, you know, like, it's not always where I think that I just completely screwed up, but sometimes I'm like, you really shouldn't have did that, like, those little negative thoughts, and the Lord is like, okay, but you dealt with it, and you can't go back and change it, and I need you here, like, I need you moving along, because what you won't do, somebody else will do, you know. And I know that the Lord wants to work with us, but he does not need us. I am fully aware. I have seen him let other people do what it is I've been wanting to do this whole time. And so, you know, well, not exactly, but you get it, like, you know. And I just feel like I could have been Moses in that regard. I quite literally have, because when I'm doing content like face painting looks and stuff, I'm always like, okay, you know, say something pops up on my For You page. The next day I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, like, the world doesn't want to see what I have to offer. Like, I am no better than anybody else. And it is still that constant cycle of trying to tell myself, like, you are worthy, you are loved, you got this. And that's why I said, you know, God is like, I know who you are, but do you know who you are? You know, and I think it is important to know that that's how God sees us. Like, he wouldn't have given us assignments. He wouldn't have put certain gifts in us if he did not feel like we could manage it or we could use it to enhance the kingdom and worship and honor him. Like, all of us, we represent him. Our lives are his, because when he died on the cross, he died in our place. So we are living sacrifices for him, and he makes nothing but the best things. So of course he's gonna put the best in you and create something wonderful out of it. And I don't know who's listening. I know you may be frustrated. I know you may be tired. You feel like if this was the limit, you are up here and nobody is hearing what you're saying. But let me tell you, I know what it is to be frustrated. I know what it is to walk day through day and you're like, Lord, I know what you said. I know you just gave me a confirmation yesterday. You must have knew I was going to need it for this storm today, because it is rough out here, and favor isn't not fair. Okay, favor is not fair. You can't help that some people are not gonna like you. You cannot help that people are gonna be rude and nasty and like stick their nose up at you. It is really not you. It is them, okay? It's the enemy in them. Even then, it's the enemy trying to bring you down and trying to make you feel like you're not getting it together. But guess what? You are. You're doing the damn thing. Me and my best friend tell each other that all the time. But keep your head up. You are doing it. You are so worthy. I mean, Moses, by the end of it, y'all, he was parting the Red Sea. And, oh, I remember, I think I put it in here. One of my teachers said that, like, it wasn't the Red Sea. It was more like a river. And y'all don't know, like, the fight I wanted to have with that man. Because I was like, you will not disrespect Mario. Like, I will have vengeance. My mom was like, you need to let that, you are gonna just need to get your grades and forget all of that. But Moses parted the Red Sea, and he did many other great things, you know, like the 10 Commandments. He saw God's face. Like, he played a huge role in Exodus and helping free the people. And if he would have stayed there and not have kept showing up for himself, showing up for the people didn't even want him there. They was trash talking to Moses. What are you doing up there? Moses, get to the back of the line. We don't let Aaron talk. We don't want to hear what you got to say. Like, you've been up at the mountain for 84 years and now you just gonna come back down here and think you could demand from us. You don't know what we've been through, Moses. And Moses was still obedient. He still did what the Lord told him to do. And I think when you know, really knowing who you are comes from reading the word and really being taught about who God is, his character, how loving and gentle he is. He is this awesome warrior. And I feel like that is downplayed a lot of the times. And when you know that, you know, like, the person who created me is the creator of an entire universe. Like, he make these walls. Like, he used people to make these walls, like the ground that this house is leveled on. You know, like, he is the true living God, the only God that is living, and the only King of Kings. Like, he got you, you know. And sometimes my self-worth, it is down, okay? I have to look in the mirror and be like, look, you brown beautiful thing, you're sexy. Maybe not that aggressive, but I'm like, you working with something, girlfriend, okay? And you have to do silly things like that to hype yourself up, because if you don't, and you don't get in that mindset of you are good enough, your dreams are going to go down. The enemy is always going to be playing with your mind. And furthermore, that is how you know that there is greatness in you, because an enemy would not attack you if he did not feel threatened and if he did not know what God promised to give you. The enemy is mad at all of us because we get gifts and promises that he does not get anymore because he decided to go and rebel. So, be encouraged. The Lord is with you, you know. He's not going to leave you here. He's always going to be revealing his hand to you at the appropriate time. And even I am seeing this day to day. Like, the Lord does not always give us information we want and need right then and there, because one, he knows we probably would not do it, or two, we would probably try to play him and think that we did it and forget who the true maker of the world is. And I will leave off with this little testimony. I am working on not trying to be offended by every person and believe that every person is just out to get me. I have been wanting to do this testimony at church. I mean, I've done it for you guys, I've said it, but I really wanted to say it at church. You know, I feel like I really helped a lot of people, and like, you know, I feel like I'm just so ready to be on stage and campaign for Jesus, you know, and all these things. The person who's been, so my church is doing like these testimony things where they show all these testimonials. I was supposed to do mine like a month and a half ago, but it rained. Okay. He had to cancel like 2 or 3 times, and there was bad weather. And so I would tell him, like, on bad weather days, I cannot make it because there's hell coming from the sky. And we would always agree to reschedule. And when I was ready, you know, he had to go do this or do that. Like, it was just inconvenient. He has never texted me back to do my testimony. And I've watched 3 other people have a video posted when I was like the first one who signed up. And y'all, I don't know, this seems like such a silly testimony to include, but it came back in my mind like twice. So I'm going to talk about it. But I feel like the Lord prompted a question to me. I know he did. What do you really want out of this though? Like, are you mad because your testimony isn't being shown? Or are you mad that you're not being shown? You know, like, you have to be careful where your intentions lie. And so then I realized, well, it really isn't important because it is about God. So if my testimony doesn't make it on the on the screen up there, then that's okay, because the Lord gave me a YouTube platform where I can literally come and tell all of you guys about everything that goes on and personal testimonies to help encourage somebody else. And so it was just a moment of me having to realize this is not about you, you know? And like I say, I hate feeling like I'm wronged. I hate when a person thinks that they're getting over on me, you know, especially when I felt like it's not my fault that there was rain, you know, like, it's not my fault, especially when you had to counsel so much yourself. But maybe those testimonies that are being talked about, those are the ones that need to, you know, be shared on the most. That's why I just told myself, we're not going to be mad about this. We're going to be happy for it, because the testimonies are beautiful. All right. The testimonies I've heard, I've been like, that deserves to be up there. So I know sometimes when you're dealing with people, they can hurt your feelings, okay? Make you feel a little mad, but overlook them. Honestly, letting stuff go and roll off your shoulders is so good. It is something I seem to practice every day, but the more you practice it, the better you get at it. Because now I can tell you guys about the testimony after realizing what I did, and I'm not angry about it. And I feel like I matured in that lesson quickly, which is a great thing because sometimes I'm very slow catching up the ladder. But thank you guys so much for watching this video and for chilling out with me. I just wanted to encourage somebody and say, you are worthy. You're worthy of all the love, all the blessings, all the joys that this life has to give. But know, with your blessings comes trouble. I mean, the Lord never told us we would not have trouble. He did tell us we would have trouble and temptations and various trials and tribulations, but he promised to always be there with us and hold our hand. And y'all, he will always give you an escape route. Don't ever think that the Lord is not right there with you, because he is. He is with you. He sees you. And I don't mean that in a scary way. I don't want you to think like he's just watching you. He's just right there beside you. Like, he is your friend. He's your father, and he is in this with you. Y'all are in this together. Sorry, there was a fly. But you are in this with the Lord, and he cares greatly for you. He doesn't want to see you stop or give up here. He wants you to keep pushing, because he knew from the end and the beginning where you would end up. Trust him. There is nothing wrong with trying and not succeeding, because trying means you did succeed. Even if it's not your definition of success, or it doesn't ends up where you want, trying, starting something, that is a victory right there. So maybe change your perspective and start seeing it that way instead, friends. But until next time, I hope you guys have the best of weekends, okay? I hope that you have the best of weeks. This story is in Exodus again. I can't remember how long. I think it's all of Exodus really that like highlights like the trials and tribulation of the children of Israel, like getting out of Egypt and like starting over, you know, all of that jazz. The movie is called The Prince of Egypt. It's an animated movie. I think it's on like Hulu. If not Hulu, I want to say it's Hulu, but if not Hulu, Netflix, or you could go and watch it on YouTube. I want to say it's there and it is free. Or like Tubi. I'll link it. But go watch it. If you're listening in on a podcast, thank you for listening in to me. I hope wherever you guys are at, you're having an amazing day or an incredible night. Until next time, remember always, the Lord loves you. The Lord bless you. And I love you as well. Good night, guys. Good day, guys.